Hello and welcome to your twin flame reading for the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine and the current union energy going on between you and your twin flame. I have my cat here, so far she's being pretty zen. I think she can handle the reading without going on a meowing spree. So anyway, yeah, I have the Angel Tarot cards here today by Doreen Virtue, and then I also have a third card by Doreen Virtue, which is from the Crystal Angels Oracle. And I have some nice citrine crystal, nice focus on creativity and life purpose. I know, well, I feel like I'm always focused on that, but and especially this last week has been like a very big focus. So if you don't have citrine crystal, I recommend it. And if you do, maybe it's time to, hang out with it, put it like kind of front and center, if that feels good to you. So yeah, I guess we'll start then with the middle card, and then we'll go to the other two cards. So this is the Union card. And today we have Multifaceted. I guess that's interesting that I went to that one first. And so it says there are many layers and dimensions to the situation or person you're asking about, and it's titanium rainbow quartz. So there you go. So yeah, it's basically saying it's time to surrender, it's time to keep healing. And if you can't see what's in front of you, it's because it just, that's okay. Like, it's because you're meant to be focusing right now on what's right in front of you, just the next step, just the next things. And to really ground into what it is you're being called to do right now, and to not attach yourself to your plans, the bigger picture so much. I mean, to still do the responsible, basic things that need to happen, but it's okay for energy to shift, for things to go in a different direction. I know for me, like I wrote about this in my blog a little bit, I was focusing on one thing, and then something came up in another way today that was good, but it wasn't directly at what I was focusing on so much, although I was called to focus on that. And it's a good example of what giving to collective consciousness really means. And it means that just because you give to someone over in one place, or you give to one audience, or even one plant, maybe we can use a garden as an example. You might be spending a lot of time on specific plants and really nurturing it and stuff, and it's just doesn't want to grow, but then because you're out there in the garden, you're also naturally paying attention to the other things, maybe not as much attention, but just giving everything the water and the stuff, and then lo and behold, over on the other side of your garden, something kind of takes off that you weren't expecting and starts blooming, popping off, looking really beautiful. And it's like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that to bloom until next month, or I wasn't expecting, I was expecting 1/3 as many blooms as I got. So that's kind of a metaphor for how you put your energy into one thing, and yeah, maybe it will actually just grow, maybe that's the plant that's gonna do really well and everything, but either way, it's not lost. So whatever healing you're being called to do, whatever direction your life purpose is taking, wherever you're kind of really putting your efforts is appropriate if you're truly called to do it, even if it's multifaceted and you don't know exactly why, or you don't know exactly the outcome. But make sure it actually feels good, and there's something grounded about it that you're doing, not just going in a bunch of different directions at the same time, because you can also lose sight of the thing that's calling your attention right in front of you. I know that this happens to me sometimes, and I continue to refine my focus so that that doesn't happen. When and then it becomes easier for me to catch myself, just like, oh yeah, I can tell that I'm kind of like trying to go to step 3 without really without looking at step 2. And it's not always like, oh, I need to do step 2, every single little teeny tiny detail, to get to step 3. Sometimes step 2 is like, I'm gonna cruise through this, and I found an easier way to do this, cool, all right, step 3. And sometimes it is every detail, but you can't just like bypass the entire step, because sometimes you don't want to look at if it's a detail step or a cruise through it step, but you actually do, you actually do want to go there and do that. It's just ego being like, oh no, I don't, just kind of not working out for you, because ego never does. So yeah, it's just safe to like look at what's really calling your attention to do, to build your foundation at this time, and to balance your energy out too. Like sometimes, you need to do the more hands-on activities like cleaning. Sometimes you need to do the spiritual work, and you're just like, I can't stop thinking about my twin flame journey, and maybe that's why you're watching this reading. That's okay, but then you want to go ahead and go into that feeling, do the mirror exercise and everything, and truly love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, you're either going to love yourself later, or you're going to love yourself even later after that, even if it's like not in this lifetime, and you're like, F this twin flame journey, this stuff is phony, I'm just gonna like go, have the best life I can without dealing with this. You can do that. I mean, like, I don't think it works out so well personally. I think people try to make it seem like it worked out for them. But once you're already aware and on the path, that's not recommended. Even if your twin flame appears to be doing that, they're just mirroring you, and it doesn't mean that you need to necessarily go and tell them, everything about twin flames. It kind of points back to this card, Multifaceted. Like if you're wondering how to communicate with your twin flame or something, well, just go back to the inner work and go back to loving yourself if there's not something clear there, because that might just be what you're pointed at. You might be trying to like control by like doing, we think we need to do things to like get a result, because that's kind of what we're taught, and I mean, that can be true. Like, you need to put your keys in the ignition and drive if you want to go get something at the store, unless you're gonna like order it, So yes, there's action involved, but if you try to like go to your car and everything when you're in a huge upset, when you could have just taken 5 more minutes to like, ground and just feel your feelings, maybe have a snack, then you're missing out on that step 2 that I'm talking about. And then maybe you can do step 3 and go to the store and it'll be okay, but it'll just be like, you'll have to relearn step 2 then, because like you want to master that. You want to like master those basic things of taking care of yourself as best you can, and have compassion when you still like, after many years or whatever, sometimes the basics are still pointed out, and that's why we go back to them. And people love the basics. So let's move on to the next card. It's like a nice long thing going on here with multifaceted layers. It makes sense. So we're going to go to the Divine Feminine now. Have some nice Herkimer diamond, which I really like, because I feel like it's very block clearing, especially like to the crown chakra. And I like all the prisms in it, so one of my faves. And here we have events moving at a fast pace. I think next time I need to work on the angle of this camera today is a little bit. I guess it's maybe if I just move. I'm gonna move this nice candle over here. There, it's better. Okay, so yeah, events moving at a fast pace, delays are over, many things happening at once. 8 of fire, dun dun dun. Number 8, infinity. It's about balance, like kind of doubling down on foundation, amongst other things. I know when I was a small child, I remember having this desire to be 8 years old. It was like, when I'm 8, then I'll really know what I'm doing. So that just came to mind too, for whatever reason. It was just kind of funny to sometimes go back to that child self and look at that perspective too. If anything feels like, oh, how am I going to have energy to do this, or what do I do and stuff, go back to your base, go back to your inner child, and also recognizing that you're an adult too. And that's really healing to your sacral chakra, because it's where like creativity and intimacy and sexuality all meet. And so kind of recognizing your whole self, or fully recognizing that kinda, is gonna help you with moving forward. So when you're grounded, it's a lot easier to move forward. This, like, again, going back to driving, like, you try to drive in your upper chakras, let's say, it can be a little dicey. It's a really good idea to feel what you're doing when you're driving completely. And that's my experience, at least personally. So yeah, it's just like when you're kind of going, when you're going with the flow and you're going fast, it is easy. But when it gets easy and when you're going fast, sometimes it's like, you do find yourself a bit higher in your upper chakras or whatever, like your vibration's rising too. And that's just fine, and it's okay, and it's good, and it can feel really good. But it's just like about being aware and being like, hey, is this still feeling good? Or now is it time to kind of like to ground, down, like ground this energy, that this kind of new experience that I'm integrating, or maybe it's a new level of success. More union in your life, essentially, is what's going on for the divine feminine in one way or another. And this can also be, like I just said, like success, life purpose related. There's a lot of possibilities, but don't look too hard at what it actually is, but pay attention to the underlying peace and union, because that feeling of intimacy is where your union is, whether or not on the outside it looks like you're, directly you and your twin flame, or whether it looks like something else in your life falling into place. There's no separation, so it all actually is directly related to harmonizing your union, because your union is really with the divine, it's with God. And so it's just pointing you back to that place and pointing you to true communion with your creator, which is a really divine thing. And so that can look like, oh, hey, like, have this next step in my life purpose, or oh, I got a pet, or oh, I got a crystal. Pet, crystal, not exactly the same thing, right? But yeah, it could be something bigger. But sometimes it's those little things that happen and fall into place that really actually call in the shifting of bigger energy too. So don't like overlook the feeling just because on the outside it doesn't look like much. If it feels like something, then just feel it all the way. It doesn't mean you need to hold on to it and like overdo it either, though. Like, still pay attention to, okay, cool, you have a crystal, maybe, though it's not like the house of your dreams. It's not like, you're not there yet, and that's safe to recognize too. So, yeah, it's just about like not bypassing, like trying to like extract the peace and the union that you're feeling and hold on to it to kind of like bypass over other uncomfortable things, but just like staying present and aware with it. And then feeling into the next step, which sometimes it is an upset, but you know what? It's like now you have the foundation to work through that next upset, and then, ooh, like that crystal that you got suddenly does turn into the dream house. Ta-da! I mean, might take a few more steps. A few more, might be now, might be whenever, but that's not the point. It's just like, again, about doing things in divine order and recognizing the peace that's already in your life, like basic law of attraction stuff. So let's move on to the Divine Masculine card. And this is always a nice one. I like it. I like the pretty lighting in this card. She looks so pretty. Look at that. Yeah, so Page of Water, intuitive, sensitive, artistic, and friendly. A new person enters your life. A relationship begins a new phase, heightened psychic abilities. Well, I wonder who that could be. Divine Masculine, maybe it's your twin flame? Yeah, so in one way or another, you're growing closer with your twin flame and acknowledging, as the Divine Masculine, some closeness within you with your twin flame. And however that is on the outside, like, you don't need to overly focus on that. But yeah, if you feel called to express yourself either directly to your twin flame, or sometimes it's even helpful if you're not in contact with your twin flame or you're just not sure about it. Talking to someone that you trust about your feelings, although, without attachment, you don't want to have a codependent relationship, with friends and stuff over these kinds of things. But yeah, it's safe to express yourself and express how you're feeling about someone. And sometimes that has to start somewhere, or even if it's just saying it out loud, gosh, I have to say that, clearing your throat chakra sometimes and just speaking what you're feeling can really help, because it also helps ground it. It's like you're through sound waves, you are communicating that. And sound waves are a thing, they're not a thing that really lasts that I know of. As far as I know, they move on, right? But there's a particular experience that you get with doing that can be really therapeutic. So yeah, but yeah, again, or maybe it is just doing something with your twin flame. Maybe it's doing something creative too. So yeah, just look into your inner vision, see what's there, and see what's there that what guided actions you want to take, just based on what you're feeling and seeing, without this reading's not an excuse to go and confess your undying love to some person who you're not even sure if they're your actual twin flame or whatever. So just be careful of that. If you have if you're just not feeling good within yourself, then always go back to yourself first and your own relationship with the divine. Because when you have that trust built up within yourself, and this card to me really communicates trust. It really communicates even the color to me, this golden light, that just feels very trusting, very powerful, the solar plexus. And yeah, when you have that trusting relationship built with God, where you're I recognize that my feelings are real. I recognize that you're showing me something, and I choose to see that, and you feel into it. And it's yeah, I trust this feeling. You start to gain confidence. You see things change on the outside. This does happen on your twin flame journey, one way or the other. Or maybe the person you thought your twin flame, who your twin flame is not, or they are, and something shifts. But either way, the point is really to develop trust with yourself and again, on a deeper level with the divine. and then allow the revealing process to occur rather than trying to control it and just feeling bad ultimately, which is what ego wants, because then you lose, and that's all ego gets, which seems really stupid, but ego's not even like a real thing. It's just a construct if you choose to believe that you are like that, if you just don't fall in alignment with God, like with your relationship with God, and you want to be separate from God. I mean, you're so powerful, your consciousness is so powerful that you can really, create your reality. But when you fall in alignment with God, you realize like that's all that exists. And I know people are triggered by that word. It's not like to a particular religion, God. So sometimes I say the divine or source or whatever. And so, it's whatever feels good for you, but always be open to like, well, why am I being triggered by this word? Because maybe there's healing to do there if you are, and if you're not, well, then, neither am I. So there you go. So let's just kind of recap real quick here before we close off this reading. So we have multifaceted. So yeah, it's really just like, divine feminine. It's like you're moving, things are moving, but at the same time you're surrendered to where they're moving. You're going with the flow here. Multifaceted. We're not like trying to over plan, right? You're going with the flow. That's going to keep you moving at the pace. You're having some breakthroughs. Way to go. And divine masculine, you're kind of having some more inner breakthroughs, like within your heart and your intuitive space, your third eye perhaps, and then of course in between there, like we were just talking about, and as this card really does indicate too, like your throat chakra. So communicating in one way or another could be very healing at this time. And you're also kind of like holding some space as the divine feminine is like kind of going in a direction, but you might as well be guided to take some action of your own. So just, pay attention to the signs too. And you can always ask for signs from the universe if you're like, just like what's going on here, and see what happens. And that's going to do it for this reading. So if you're interested in more on the current energy, you can check out also my latest blog posts. My website is linked below. And also everything else that is offered. And definitely subscribe, get those notifications for when readings do come out, and have a wonderful week ahead. We're kind of heading into some fun stuff that I'll be doing some updates on, like the eclipse and the Great Conjunction. So stay tuned for those as well. Take care. Bye.